All right, it's Sub Sunday. I'm not going to play anybody today, but I will give subs because it's Sub Sunday. Let's do 5. You get a sub. 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 Everybody's a sub. All right. Everybody donate 5 subs, and then I can retire finally. Finally. And we should be on Chess TV in 30 minutes, and we'll get more viewers. Everybody gets a sub. Somebody give Endeavor, you're trying to learn, Yay, Panicked Pawns gave 5 subs. The hype train is close, although my subs that I donate don't help the hype train. You can't help your own hype train, which is, I don't know, it seems like you should be able to. Like, why not? Karen will be here shortly. She's making herself all pretty. I don't want to start without her, so we can talk about subs and stuff. Thanks, Xenoid, 400 bits. Thanks for this, the whatever you call it. The support, that's the word. It's like Chess Bras, they have support. Go Panicked Pawns. Go Ben. Go Hype Train. So we had a very exciting days in almost every round, but especially yesterday and today in Tata Steel. So we have a lot of games to look at, etc. Well, Chess Bras give you support. Anyway, Karen can back me up. Unless we're talking about the bro, or as I like to call it, the manzier. Yay, Chess Bras now live. Man, I was referring to them recently, I just had to think about them. Yeah, I think the Niners will win. And then next week will be very interesting. I always root against the Cowboys, and then when the Cowboys play Tampa, I get confused. I don't know who to root against. I really don't. I got nothing. Can both teams lose? Hey, let me ask a question so we can have something to talk about. Especially if there's any doctors in the chat. Probably there's 2 or 3. Do you think Demar Hamlin will ever play again? Or the doctors won't let him? It's Karen. You're a doctor in philosophy? Interesting. What do you think?
I don't know, but...
My question to the chat was, do you think Demar Hamlin will ever play again?
Oh, I haven't followed his recovery very well. Did you tweak the settings here? You did?
No.
But, yeah, I don't know.
No, I didn't. I forgot to do the webcam. I don't know. I never forget to do the webcam. And then when you come up, you're like, did you forget it? I'm like,
I could just tell because it was real. You put on like 5,400. Okay. That's good enough.
Is that like Jewish and drag queenish?
Yeah, do you think he'll play again?
Well, I think if it's up to him, then yes. But it's probably not up to him. If the team doctors say you can't play, then you can't play. Mm-hmm. I don't know if he's more likely to have the same affliction happen if he gets hit at the wrong time, or that's just random and anybody could get that, and he's not more or less likely. Mm-hmm. If he's equally see, right now he's actually taking oxygen and has his heart monitored, so he's still, he's still got to watch it. But I assume in a year or two, he'll just be back to his normal self, and then, I don't know. I mean, he'll want to play.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Sven. Hey, Dory.
Will a doctor say, yeah, that's a good idea? Or they'll say, Ish, don't think so. They don't seem to have an opinion in the chat. You don't have to be a doctor to have an opinion. Also, the hype train isn't doing very well. 0%. That's less percent than usual. Yeah, I've been told my whole life, and Karen will back me up and or not back me up. I don't know which one. That running a marathon's bad for you and running a half marathon is good for you.
How would I know? I've run both.
You run a marathon. Yeah, you've done.
I did.
That's how you would know.
Didn't seem to hurt me.
Bam.
I live to tell the tale.
Maybe because you ran a half marathon, so that got rid of the bad effects of a marathon.
Yeah, I enjoyed running it.
Running better than not running. Yeah, I don't agree with that. I think
it just depends on the age and
yeah, I mean you could
shape,
run and you shouldn't be running and then you die.
Yeah. So that's a tough question to answer, precocious, because I'm going to have to qualify it now. What was my time for the marathon? So I ran, my official time was somewhere around 5.5 hours, but it was better than that. I'd only been running for a year at that time, and I had done one half marathon and a whole bunch of training runs. The reason it was so slow is I ran in the 100th anniversary of the Boston Marathon, and typically you have to qualify for that. I was a new runner. I wasn't ever going to qualify for that. But my friend Megan Williams qualified, and she got a lottery spot. They gave lottery spots out that year. I think it was in 1996. So I ran under one of the Megan Williams. And there were about 50,000 runners. And the ones that got in lottery spots, which was me, a.k.a. Megan Williams, got stuck at the back. So it took me probably 3 miles to even really be running properly because we were, jammed in there. But it was wonderful. I enjoyed it so much. You ran that too? Precocious? Really? It was crowded. See what I'm saying? It took me like 3 years to look under Megan Williams. I know you'll see that it's one of the Megans, did better than the other. And I took her. It was crazy. I had to I had to use her ID to prove I was Megan, and but it was fun. Hopkinton is way too small of a town. Yeah, that's true. How many miles did I run per week to train? It's been so long, Bonarici. Sorry to get off on this tangent. But it's been so long, but I remember that I started training. I ran the Philadelphia distance run I think that's usually in August, and that's a half marathon. So then after that, I decided, okay, well, maybe I could train for the Boston Marathon because we had till the following April. So we just increased. We had a long run every week, and we had it peaking so that I did a 23-mile training run, I think 3 weeks out from it. So probably, I don't recall now, but I'm sure it was 40-something miles a week was what my training regimen was. In marathon speak, you were a bandit. Yeah, I had a really good half marathon time for a new runner. I wish I could remember exactly, but I'm going to say it was around an hour and 50 minutes. I'll tell you what, my splits were 8:15, so whatever that equals. I had to run in the rain. Yet again, I'm going to say it one more time, new runner. Anyway, I enjoyed all the running I did.
That beats all my marathon stories.
You grew up in the Boston area? Oh, you walked the last 6 miles? I have some pictures I took. They didn't have digital back then, but I had at the 1 mile mark, I took a picture of the person holding up the sign that only had 1 mile to go. Yeah, I never walked any. 40 miles a week sounds normal. Yeah, it was over 40. You have to run a lot if you're going to be doing a marathon. Yeah, it's punishing. I loved it. It was like, I ran 6 miles a day. Took 1 day off maybe. I had a long run on Sundays. Then I usually took Mondays off. And then, typical running schedule.
My dad said some of the Kenyans used to run up sand dunes until they were unconscious. And that's how they prepared for the marathon.
God.
Yeah.
They are pretty good. I don't still run precocious. I walk a lot. I think I'm just really too old. It's too hard on my bones and joints. I'm in my late 50s. But I can tell you, I can go run 2 miles at any given time in my life and it all stems from all that running I did. I can, because I took time off from exercising, like years off, and then when I ran, I could still run a couple of miles.
Thanks, Farty Party, for the subscription.
That's what I'm saying, Bonarici. I have a base level of fitness that just never really went away after all the
But you
running
don't understand.
Yeah.
I have a base level of fatness, and it's never going to go away. So I got
But it is going away.
And they'll never go away. It'll still be there, just be hiding a little.
Yeah, running, it does, you can get injured.
I mean, I can't, Fody Kasparov, I can't even run as much as Karen Stockings. Are you kidding?
That's what I'm saying, precocious. Like I ran a whole lot in my late 20s and early 30s. And then, really hadn't been the fittest person since then, but I can always bang out a couple of miles. You don't lose it all. But now I'm just walking, going to the gym. You just shift into a different mode when you get older. You realize I got X amount of years left, and I want to, try to keep my body to take me to the finish line.
It's funny, before I met Karen, she was a little more loose than she is now, a little more. And she was at a chess tournament with Tony Miles and Miles Arteman, and she said she wanted to bang out a couple of miles. I couldn't believe it.
I knew when I said that bang that you were going to be thinking of it.
Those are the only 2 miles I know. But the thing is, 95% of the chat hasn't heard of Miles Arteman, so that's unfortunate.
I haven't heard of him.
You have or haven't?
I have not.
Yeah, he's used to be 2,400. Now he's old like me. He's older than me, so he's 2,200. Mm-hmm. He's an FM. He lives in North Carolina now, I think.
Okay.
I played him more than once, but I played him a game in the World Open, which I've shown on stream more than once, where I won a worse king and pawn endgame, which I traded into thinking it was winning because I misunderstood it. Then it was a draw, and then he made a blunder and I won. And so it was the worst game ever, but I thought I was great after the game. And I was like, I suck.
Yeah, we do have running areas near us. We live very close to the Chattahoochee River. And when I was running, which has been in the last 5 years, but I just recently transitioned to walking, but it has a great running path very close to us.
There was a 1,300 player in Michigan who always ran marathons. Like, he ran several marathons a year all over the country. And he was older. He was in his 50s. He was just running. He was running like 10, 15 marathons a year. And he would usually show up to chess tournaments looking like he just ran a marathon. He had the clothes on for running a marathon. He didn't dress like this. He always had shorts on, and
Yeah. No, there are all sorts of people that start later in life. There was this ultra marathoner, Helen somebody. She's probably dead by now. I forgot her last name. I used to see her written up in Runner's World a bit, but she didn't even start running until she was in her 50s, and she was just running to help her husband who had a heart attack. I still remember the story. And then she became very well known because she, was, in her 70s running these ultra marathons. Mm-hmm. Not going to be me. Yeah, I agree it's too excessive.
Every stream should be marathon chat with Karen.
Yeah, I loved running. I did a whole lot of races. I did the Philadelphia distance run a couple of times, and then there's this half marathon in Dover, Maryland that I also did. But mostly I did 10
The last
Ks.
marathon that one of us did was me. A couple days ago, I was running out of gas, and I went to a marathon gas station. So I completed too. I finished. So that was pretty good. I got all the way to the gas station, put gas in, and drove home.
Mm-hmm. So what are we starting with today?
Marathon discussion. I was passed by so many elderly.
That's what I'm saying, QZY. I remember when I was in the Philadelphia distance run, I had been running 6 months at that time. This was a half marathon, a great first one because it's real flat. And I'm running along, I'm doing pretty good. And this guy passed me, big old fat gut out in front of him. And I mean, he just dusted me.
Some of my chess friends who also play golf, one of them told me a story. He was playing golf with his friend, and his friend's also a chess player, but he's not a 2400. And he's a huge guy. He's a big guy, so he would take big swings and hit pretty good. And he says this guy who was like 100 years old came up, and he could barely get to the tee. Like he was like, I mean, he's like, oh. And then some guy they don't know. And then he went like this, and he hit it. He says he hit it twice as far as my friend.
Right.
My friend's like, what's going on? He's hitting it way past me.
And that's what Precocious is saying. You can never judge a book by your cover. Mm-hmm. Hey, Precocious, do you still have, I assume you have a Boston Marathon t-shirt. I have mine still, long sleeve.
And it still fits.
Well, I'm fatter now.
I'm the one who's the fat one. I
think it still fits. Yeah.
Don't steal my thunder.
I have my medal too.
I'm the fat one.
I'm gonna dig it out, Precocious.
It's Irina Chan is rating with a party of
9.
9.
Yay!
Thank you, Irina. Go Irina Chan.
Thank you.
She was just chatting. It says, or he. Nobody knows. Especially today in this workaday world we live in. Mm-hmm. Thanks for the raid.
Oh, you're running again this year, Precocious? Well, good luck. Do you run it every year?
I ran the Boston Marathon one year a few years ago, but I didn't finish because I bombed out.
No, that's not a good joke. And I was just about to ask about the bombing, if you ran that year. Oh, you've run it 6 times?
6.
Yeah,
Thanks, Xenoid, for gifting a sub.
That was horrible.
You're the best.
It's hard to qualify every single year. I know. I never was fast enough to qualify. I mean, that just wasn't going to be me. You missed the bombing year. Good. But,
in the whole world, well, I'll let both of you answer this. Mm-hmm. Hopefully there's different answers you guys can fight. In the whole world, is that the most prestigious marathon? The Boston Marathon?
In my view, it is.
What if Precocious says, no, what about this marathon?
In my view, it's.
What do you think, Precocious?
Yeah.
Yes, the Boston says Bonarici.
Says. Let's see what Precocious says.
And then I've heard of the New York Marathon.
Yeah.
So that's pretty good. I heard of something.
Yeah.
I haven't heard of other marathons. I've heard of the Boston Marathon and the New York Marathon. Now, in Detroit, there was a marathon every year because that chess player guy was running in it, but that's not.
They have marathons everywhere. They have one here.
Yeah, I know.
Thanksgiving, yeah. But, okay, everybody's agreeing. Yeah, New York, Chicago, Berlin, and London. Yeah, I would agree with all that. Didn't they have a Seinfeld New York Marathon episode?
Right, that whole episode, that's correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a big deal to qualify for the Boston. I agree. That's why I wasn't ever going to qualify. I had to depend on Megan Williams, who did qualify.
This guy says the big 6 are Chicago, New York, Boston, London, Berlin, and Tokyo. People were saying those cities.
Mm-hmm. It was fun. I just can't do it anymore. The good news is that when I walk on the treadmill, I do all sorts of things. I have my laptop there. I do chess puzzles. I play in poker tournaments. I send emails so I can multitask. So it's worked out. Hey, Indo Queen. Bronarici says, what's better, the Olympic
marathon? Yeah, would you rather win the
Boston
Marathon or Olympic gold in the marathon?
Well, you want to win an Olympic gold medal.
You do?
Yeah, in life.
Yeah.
In life, yeah. But I don't know.
I like when that woman cheated, but I thought it was the New York Marathon, not the Boston one. The woman who cheated and won, and then they didn't let her win. This is like 20, 30 years ago.
Ruiz?
Yeah.
Something
yeah, she
Ruiz.
took the subway.
I forgot her first name. Something Ruiz.
I think that was New York, though.
I thought it was New York. I flagged some thousands like they were nothing. Oops. What did I do?
Click now where it says watch now with 142 viewers.
Oh, I don't know what I clicked to put it in that mode. I didn't know I flagged anybody. Like, I do. I'm joking, but I'm usually the one getting flagged. You spied on me. Yeah, I mean, sometimes I can give a smackdown if I'm not being smacked down.
The Boston Marathon has prize money.
That's true. Yeah.
My favorite marathon was the New York Marathon on the Jeffersons. So it wasn't really a marathon. And they were arguing who was in better physical shape, George Jefferson or Tom Willis. And their wives were laughing at them and so forth. So then they decided to run the Boston Marathon, the New York Marathon. Who faster was the better athlete. So George cheated and had like an oxygen tank at the 1 mile mark, and they're both dying at the 1 mile mark. They're like on the ground crying. And then when the wives were there yelling at them, and then they were done yelling, they talked to each other, and they were like, "Well, of course my husband would have won. No, my husband would have won." Then they took their numbers and they started running. First of all, they're just two random people, so they can't run a marathon. They're like in their 50s, and one's like 100 pounds overweight, and one is like neither one of them is athletic. So, but yeah, I like that. Whoever finishes first wins.
What do you think of Heartbreak Hill, Precocious? I didn't think it was that heartbreaking. I did a bunch of hill training, but I remember after the Boston, my quads were so sore I had to walk down the stairs backwards. I remember that. Yeah, it was easier than people told me. Yeah, the quads. See what I'm saying? My quads hurt so much the next day backwards down the stairs. Yeah, I didn't feel it during the race, though. I thought it was nothing. I'm like, well, this is it?
At your peak.
Yeah.
Like whenever your peak was, maybe that was it. But how far could you run where you wouldn't walk? Could you run 50 miles, or you'd have to start walking at some point?
I never ran further than a marathon. Why would I run?
No, but what do you think you could at that time?
Yeah, I could have gotten into some ultra marathoning. We just put the training time in.
Yeah.
I mean, now the question becomes, can you do it fast? I was never.
No,
fast.
I wasn't asking you to do it fast.
Oh yeah, definitely. I could have done more. Well, I thank you, Precocious. I shouldn't run that far anymore. I got to protect my bones and joints. I'm hunkering down. I measure to the end of my life how many more cars I'm going to have to buy.
The person who
Probably
said they're not Ben
out.
Finegold,
Yeah.
but they are similar to me. You know why?
Where are you reading?
Where it says, "I'm not Ben Finegold" at the top. It's the second line at the top. Down. There.
Oh, okay. I was looking.
You know what they have in common with me?
No.
We both live in Georgia.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Man, that was a lot of work.
Uh-huh. I mean, I can't prove they live in Georgia, but they're
because of his name, you mean?
Yeah, that's a Georgian name.
There's no award for running a marathon in every state. He made up that idea.
Yay, Georgia.
Well, I had some running friends of mine, definitely. I think they've run in all the states, because I remember when they ran the Alaskan Marathon, but they might have moved on to countries now.
Hey, Lavani, I was in Batumi, Georgia before you were born, but not before you were born. Also, somebody said something, and I was thinking I was there before you were born, but I forgot what you said. It was way earlier in the stream. I don't know if it was Belgium or it was, what was it? Whatever you said before you were born. Yeah, yay, Georgia. That's right.
Well, we should probably do some chats. That's 30 minutes of some chatting.
That's ridiculous.
We didn't even have our categories set properly. I think we're allowed to say, well, no, I have it backwards. Never mind. Nothing. Well, good, Precocious. I'm glad we discovered we have that in common. We are going to come.
This guy's saying the reason I'm not commentating on the game as I'm Stalin.
Are you making that up?
It says it's where Stalin is from. So I said I'm Stalin.
Oh, I see it. Hey, Gallus. Well, let's do some chess. I am ready to do some chess.
Okay.
And then I have to leave just an FYI close to 7:30 for a few minutes to talk to Archer about his schoolwork. And then I'll come back.
Is the thing open?
Yeah, I did all that.
Okay. So I'm going to talk about games from today and or yesterday from Tata Steel. This is from today. Magnus had the black pieces against Fabi. They played a Rui Lopez or a Spanish, depending on what you call it. And I was saying that in the last 10 years, if two players over 2,700 are playing, and you see this position, it's usually a Berlin. However, in this tournament, people are playing A6, which is the way they used to play. Okay, and he played a closed Rui, which we saw in several games so far, Castles, I guess. And as I was explaining 2 days ago when I did commentary on the games, Black wants to play D5, the Marshall Gambit. And the game that I was looking at the time, White played A4, and Black played B4, and White played A5. And that was played in this game. So 2 days ago, this was also played by other players. Who those players were, I don't know. Okay, now I remember who they were. It was Wesley So versus who? What's his name? Keimer. Yeah, however you pronounce it. I've heard both. And Vincent played rook here, and took this eventually. And Wesley eventually won. Okay.
Yeah, I remember that.
And then Magnus played D6. Solid. C3. Rook B8. H3, stopping bishop G4, so you can play D4. H6. D4. Normally in the Rui Lopez, when you play C3 and D4, which White usually tries to do, then we want to preface that with H3 because the D pawn needs some defending and bishop G4 pins the knight. So that makes it a little awkward. So playing H3 first and then C3, D4 is quite a common idea. And he took on C3, so his rook is really good. Now the queen is, defending two different things, two different ways. B takes C3. I think you can't play knight takes C3 because you can't, these aren't defended sufficiently. So you have to either take on C3 or take here, and take here is bad because this takes this. So this is forced. Then he took. Now, the first of all, I'm reasonably sure, and by reasonably sure, I'm absolutely sure, that this is Fabi's preparation. And one way you can tell that, it's pretty early in the game. But more importantly, Fabi has 5 minutes more than he started with. So he's not playing fast, he's playing his prep. So if I'd never seen this position before, I would probably play C takes D. But the engine does prefer knight takes. And I'm sure that's his prep and that's theory, and he still has more time than he started with. Okay, and in this position, and in fact, Svidler and Howell were saying they thought Black could easily play knight takes knight, pawn takes, and then D5. And then if E5, we have knight E4. And they thought Black was fine here. And the engine says Black is fine here. Nice knight on E4. And so they expected that. Magnus played bishop to D7, which is also okay. And this indicates he doesn't want to take this. He wants to put his knight on E5 because the knight's good on E5. So he just defended his knight, and he didn't... Now, if we play knight E5 right away, I think that fails tactically, unless I'm wrong. So if I'm wrong, the engine is going to tell me I'm wrong. I think you play F4, and then when the knight moves, I have knight C6. And for some reason, the engine says I'm right. So if you want to play knight E5, you have to play bishop D7 first. Okay. And let me see how long he took on this move. Okay, he thought 7 minutes on bishop f4, so he's out of his prep. And bishop f4 is the engine move. And then he did put the knight on e5. And Fabi completed developing his minor pieces with knight a3, which is not a favorite move of the engine, but it's fine. Doesn't lose or anything. Okay, rook e8 is a good move, getting the rook to the half-open file. The bishop's going to come back to f8. Always play bishop f8. Bishop g3 is the engine move. Always play bishop f8. Also the engine move. And now in this position, Fabi did something that he can't take back. He made what's called a big decision, and he changed the nature of the position. And in the end, that's why he lost, although this move does not lose. But the engine says this knight is good, and this knight is not good. So the engine wants to play knight c4 and trade off those knights. And then it says white has a teeny tiny advantage, like 0.1, 0.2. Okay, so basically equal. Instead, Fabi played super aggressive. Now, as you all know, they don't know. Yesterday, Fabi was fighting for a draw. Then his opponent went crazy, Makhsudlu, and Fabi was winning. And then in a winning position, Fabi didn't win. And Magnus yesterday won after losing 2 in a row. He beat Richard Rapport. So the players were going the opposite ways. Fabi was doing well and he messed up. And Magnus started out in the middle of the tournament doing badly. Then he won his game against Rapport. So the fortunes are changing. And when you have the white pieces, especially when you're Fabi, you want to get an advantage and win the game. You don't want to play for equality. So he played very aggressive f4. Some would say too aggressive, although I wouldn't. It's still okay. Okay, he played knight c6. So the knight has been kicked off of its square, but the e4 pawn is weak. In fact, it's attacked. Okay, and now in this position, the engine says we should play bishop h4, pinning the knight. And then black can take this pawn over here, and it says the position's about equal. And instead, Fabi played a super aggressive move, probably not very good. Probably not. Mm-hmm. He played e5. And I assume that was his idea when he played f4. The problem is, if this doesn't work, your position's collapsing because this is weak and isolated, this is weak and isolated, and this knight's off sides, this pawn's attacked a lot, and we're opening up our bishop when we play d takes e. And there's a word that Yasser likes to use in similar situations, and that word is touch. And touch means you're attacking a piece that's defended, so you're touching it. So like he would say touch, and then touch, and then touch, and then touch, and then after DE, this is a touch. And this is actually a threat that's hanging. So with so many loosey-goosey kind of white pieces and pawns, this is very risky. And so typically, when somebody as good as Fabi plays something so risky, it's because his analysis is immaculate. And then he does whatever he wants because he calculates all the variations forever. And I think in this particular situation, he did not calculate accurately. It was very tricky, and Magnus played like an engine, which he occasionally does. That's why if you're playing an engine, you don't play f4, e5, because you figure there's something wrong with it. But if you're playing a human, you're like f4, e5 would refute knight e5, knight c6, because black's just moving his knight back and forth, and white is advancing at the center. And there's very, very complicated tactics that I assume Fabiano missed. So he took on e5. He took back. And now black only has one mover he's lost. Okay, you can't play knight h7, although knight h7 is the safest, like my knight's attacked. It has nowhere else to go. But after knight h7, white's moving forward and black's moving back, and that's actually quite good. And white has a nice tactic here. White can play bishop takes f7 check, and then queen f3 check, and regain his piece, And obviously he won this pawn, and black's king is exposed. So black is forced to play knight takes d4 instead of moving his knight to h7. And in this position, we don't have time to take this knight because our bishop is to touch. Bishop's attacked and everything's attacked. So you have to take back. Now, which way should we take back? Well, if you take with the queen, you're not defending your bishop. And when I take your bishop, I'm also attacking your knight because my bishop's on f8. So you have to play cd. There's no other move. So you played cd. Okay, good. Okay, now Magnus played a move that heretofore only the engine saw. And when I say the engine saw it, Svidler and Howell were looking at something, and then somebody in the chat said, hey, Svidler and Howell, the engine says this move. And then they were like, oh, okay, Magnus will play that because he's Magnus. But they wouldn't play it because they didn't see it. And I'm assuming Fabi didn't see it because it looks insane. But Magnus did see it. Now, what they were analyzing, Svidler and Howell, was knight h5, with the idea that if you take the knight, I take the bishop on b3. Okay, so then they were analyzing bishop f7, king f7, queen h5, g6, and they thought that white was probably winning because white has an extra pawn. And even though black has two bishops, white's going to play like check and then play d5, and white has a big center and extra pawn. So they thought knight h5 wasn't good, so they thought maybe black had to play knight h7, and they preferred white's position. So this is a common mishap amongst the top players, is they play a bad line that loses, which is rare. And the reason they played the bad line that loses, which is in this case, is they didn't see one move. They saw every other move, and every other move they're doing great. So Fabi's doing great here, except he missed black's next move, which will shock everybody. Unless you've already seen the game, then it's easy.
I hadn't seen it.
He ignored the knight, and Magnus played bishop c6. Okay, and the reason is this queen is defending this, this, and this. And so you can't defend them all. So if you take this, which he didn't do, okay, I take this. Now, if you play queen takes, then I play rook takes b3, materials equal, I have the two bishops, this pawn's hanging with check, and the knight's hanging. So it's black's completely winning. It's like +4 for black, +5. Okay, so you have to take with the bishop. Okay, now the queen's defending both. So you play rook takes b3 again, and threatening the knight, and materials equal. And then if you take the rook, queen takes d4 check, wins the rook in the corner. Okay. And then when you win the rook in the corner, you're threatening this and this. And you have the two bishops and your pawn up. So +5 for black. Okay, so what this means is, after bishop c6, Fabi can't take the knight on f6. And so now if it's black's move, black can play knight e4, black can play knight d5, and black's doing great. Okay, and in this position, Fabi made a double question mark move. Now, what typically happens when you're a grandmaster, which I am, when your opponent makes a move you didn't see, and you realize that move is good. So Fabi didn't see bishop c6, I'm guessing, and then he was like, oh shit, that's a good move. Now you have to reconnoiter. You have to like chill out. Okay, you got to calm down. And you have to think forever and then play a good move. You got to think forever because things aren't so bad. And the only good moves are rook f1, which stops all of this rook takes rook nonsense. So we're actually threatening to take. Or rook c1, which attacks the bishop. After those moves, black is better but not winning. And instead, Fabi made a move that loses immediately. And then he's completely lost. And probably he was flustered about bishop c6, and he didn't calm himself down and think about the situation and play a good move. Okay, so he played bishop c2. This is double question mark, and the game's over. Okay, bishop is fantastic on this diagonal and he's given up the diagonal. So what black plays queen d5, which was never a move because bishop was here. Now we're threatening mate. And also, if you defend with your queen, like queen e2, your d-pawn's hanging. So you don't want to do that. Also, queen d2 runs into bishop b4, skewering your queen and rook. So if you don't want to play here and you don't want to play here, and you want to stop mate, that leaves one move.
You said if you don't want to put queen d2.
If you don't want to play this because of bishop here, you don't want to play this because of queen takes pawn check, and you want to stop mate.
Oh, rook e2.
Rook e2. That's what he played. And now black played a very simple move, which looks like there should be no problem for white, but there's a big problem for white. And Svidler and Howell were like, oh, he'll definitely find it. He's Magnus and so forth. He just played rook b4, threatening rook takes d4, and you can't stop rook takes d4. And everything collapses. So bishop c2 just loses immediately to this. The engine says black is more than +5. And the reason you can't take this is twofold. The simplest reason, if you want simple, the engine actually plays a little different, but there's more than one way to win. The simplest way is to trade rooks and then win that rook in the corner again. And then I'm up the exchange of a pawn and two bishops and your knight's on a3 and you're lower rated and your opponent's the world champion, so forth. Okay, so after rook b4, if I play rook takes d4, I'm just winning. And you can't stop rook takes d4. If you play rook d2, which looks like it stops rook takes d4, it doesn't. Because your rook is overworked. It's defending mate and here. So you can't take the rook as a mate. So after rook b4, the game's over. It's plus a million for black. Okay, so his f4 e5 didn't work out because he didn't see bishop c6. And after Magnus made the move he didn't see, he completely fell apart with bishop c2, just losing immediately. So not Fabi's best game. Close, though. Okay, he played king h2, which doesn't stop this. And then knight e4. And you can't let me take this bishop. And you can't let me play knight c3, forking your queen and rook. So you have to trade everything. And black has two bishops and an extra pawn. It's a passed pawn. And this knight is terrible. So he played knight c4, which improves his knight. And Svidler was wondering if Magnus would, if Fabi would resign. He's like, this is embarrassing to play. Two bishops and an extra pawn. The black rook goes to the 7th rank. White has no counterplay. This game won't last long. Man, he was right. The game didn't last long. God damn. So he played rook b8 to play rook b2 later. Get his rook to the open file. Rook c1, which is also bad. Rook b5. This pawn's weak. I can pin your knight. I can attack your knight, then take this. e6. Takes, rook c5. So your bishop's attacked. And if you move your bishop to a random square, bishop here wins because you're pinned. Okay, so you have to play bishop f4, defending your rook.
Okay. I got it.
Okay.
I can't answer everything.
Then bishop d5. In this position, white has to move his knight. And then Svidler wanted to play rook takes rook, bishop b4, bishop a5, and rook takes a5 also wins. But he liked, this is the engine move, his knight here. This move wins, but Svidler liked this win better. And then bishop b4, and then bishop takes a5, and two bishops and two extra pawns.
Which does the engine like better?
It likes what Svidler said better. Yeah. So after bishop d5, Fabi resigned. And also, these are the best players in the world. So if you have such a position, you would never, ever, 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 ever think of resigning. If you do, that's not good. Don't resign. Okay, now he's obviously distraught because he got destroyed with white, and he's playing the best player in the world, and he's down 2 pawns for nothing, and the guy's 2 bishops. And the engine says this is +7. So they know when they're losing and they have no hope, but you guys don't know that. You guys might have no hope before the game starts, but you don't know it. Okay? I don't mean in chess, I just mean in life in general. So you got to play out till mate because your opponent doesn't have the acumen that Magnus Carlsen has. Now, I remember specifically when I played Magnus Carlsen, many people, at least a dozen, over the next week or two, asked me why I resigned in the position I resigned in. Okay, in that position, I was losing a piece, so I would have been down a piece in an endgame. Which against you guys, I would win, 90% of the time, but against Magnus, that's not good. If you want some chess advice, take it to the bank, okay? Don't be down a piece in an endgame against Magnus. Don't do that. That's bad for your chess.
So, I don't know how to say your name. Blase or Blaze?
Either way.
All right, Blase had a question, and I was wondering the same thing, which was, what was Fabi trying to do with the bishop c2 move?
Well, it's clear to me, whether it's true or not, Fabi says, I'm attacking the knight.
Right.
And I want to play queen d3 and so forth. And the rook was on my bishop, so my queen's not tied down here. And you remember, after pawn takes knight, rook takes rook, bishop takes rook, the reason that worked is black played rook takes bishop, and then queen takes d4 check. So that means in this position, he's threatening pawn takes knight. So he probably thought the knight might move, and then I'll play queen d3, threatening mate, and then my pieces aren't attacked so much. I have a nice center. And I'm sure he saw this and then just didn't see rook b4. Because rook b4 is an odd move, but it just, there's no defense to rook d4, which is weird. It's strange there's no defense to that. And black's position is winning in any case, but not as winning. Like rook b d8 is good. So I think Fabi had a meltdown after bishop c6 because he probably felt he was better here. Then after this realized he was worse, and then he didn't calm himself down quickly enough and continued to make mistakes. So it was a bad day at the office. Magnus played, Magnus basically played perfectly. So when somebody plays perfectly and somebody's not playing their best game, then you lose. So forth. What about queen d3 instead of bishop c3? Do you mean bishop c2? Would you have found bishop c6? I wouldn't find anything.
So let's see, almost 7:20. I'm still good. Be down here.
All right, hopefully somebody did a marker for that. If not, you're all banned.
Tensor Extension did, I saw.
Yeah, he's good at that. Okay, now we'll look at another game. Richard Rapport versus Praggnanandhaa. Praggnanandhaa. Hey. He resigned. He actually didn't resign.
What, Praggnanandhaa?
He didn't resign, and he didn't get mated.
Oh, don't give away the game. You're about to show it.
I got to give it away. Give it away now.
That's part of the
always
drama.
giving it away because the person who did well is on the bottom. Okay. Okay, so this is Rapport. Now, Praggnanandhaa's having a great tournament. He has 2 wins and 6 draws before this game. And Rapport, loses occasionally and draws occasionally. Terrible.
Yeah.
Okay, and then Rapport's playing badly because he doesn't know who's better, him or Duda. Okay. So they played Italian Stallion, the boring variation, which is what everybody does. They're always playing the boring variation. Okay, now, often in the Italian, white will play knight f1 at some point, and then probably knight g3. Although occasionally knight e3, but okay. And if white castles first, which is the most common, then white has to play rook e1, so his knight can go to f1. So he's hoping to save a tempo by playing knight f1 right away. And sometimes, if you play knight f1 before you castle, but not in this position, but sometimes knight g4 is a good move. Because, you got to watch it. And you could probably play knight e3 against that, would be my guess. In fact, let me just check the engine, make sure that I'm right. Right, knight e3. And in fact, this is fine for black. There's nothing wrong with this. Okay, and Praggnanandhaa played knight e7, because, c'est la même chose, oui. Okay. Knight g3, knight g6, cavalier g6. C'est bon pour noir, oui? Bon. Okay, dans cette position, he played bishop g5. And then it looks like that's a silly move, okay, recommended by John Cleese. Because after knight g6, black's next move is going to be h6. And then why's my bishop here? Okay. And before black put it in h, white put it in h. h4. That's how Karen does it. Bishop g5, h4. So his idea is if you play h6, I'm going to play h5. And then if you take this, which is bad, I take, and this is pinned, then you have an open file here to your king, and knight takes g5, and queen's coming in, and so forth. This is winning for white. Okay, so Praggnanandhaa played a very simple move. Instead of playing h6, he just played rook e8. And he wants the center to open up because he sees white's king is there. So d4 is never going to happen. And maybe black will play d5. And rook f8, if necessary, rook e8 gives the f8 square for the knight in case of h5, which he did not need. He didn't do it. And when he played rook e8, the Svidler was surprised. He didn't look at that move. Okay, h5, knight f4. And now in this position, he was surprised again. He thought white would take this, then play queen c2 and castle queenside, but he just played knight g3 and ignored his pawn here. And the engine doesn't take that pawn, and neither did Praggnanandhaa. If you take this pawn, check, king f1, knight f4, and now h6. And this pin is annoying. And opening the g file might actually help white. And the engine actually really likes white here, even though it's like a complete mess. Okay, that's what Rapport likes. He likes a complete mess. Okay, Praggnanandhaa's move is recommended by the engine as the only good move, h6. Now if you play bishop h4 to maintain the pin, knight takes g2 check and take the bishop. So he takes on f4, takes back, attacking the knight. The knight goes to e2. And this position, Praggnanandhaa's move is not recommended by the engine. It wants to move the bishop back because d4 is coming, but d4 is not coming if the bishop moves back because the e pawn's hanging. Or play c6, ostensibly to play d5. And instead, Praggnanandhaa played knight g4, attacking the pawn on f2. And white doesn't really want to castle kingside because he's played h4, h5. So and his bishop's here, his knights come, so he wants to play on the king side. So he played rook f1, confusing the audience. Could also play d4, which is fine, but that weakens the e4 pawn. But he could play it. But he played rook f1, and that's, again, Rapport is a very creative player. He gets positions other people don't get, and then if you get confused, you can lose. And Rapport always playing for the win, always playing the most complicated line, and thinks he can just outplay his opponent. Okay. Now in this position, the engine doesn't like this move, and it wants black to play a5, which is a very strange move.
What was the preferred move instead of the rook move?
It preferred d4.
Oh, it did prefer.
Yeah.
Okay, you said that. Well, so none of those knight to d4s worked, just to kind of block it off.
You could play knight to d4, but then this makes a lot of sense now. You could play f5 or d5 and watch your king here.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so he played knight f6. The engine doesn't say that's the best, but it's still about equal. Queen c2, defending his e-pawn and preparing to castle queenside. Bishop g4, which is fine, and he long castled. And in this position, black played a rather strange move. The engine wants him to play c6 or a5. Played bishop a7. So white's up a pawn. Black has 2 bishops, and the position's sort of weird. And the engine likes white now. He played c6. Rook de1, breaking the pin. And he takes his pawn back. Knight takes h5. Queen to d2, which is fine. Queen to f6 is fine. Takes. Materials equal. And he plays rook h1. The engine slightly prefers knight h2. And then we'll try to play g4 and f4 and so forth. Okay. And what's funny is I remember Svidler saying, I wouldn't take this pawn because I'd be too afraid to open my king up. And he's right. The engine prefers bishop g6. Still says white's better, but it prefers to what he did. And he did do that because he's Praggnanandhaa. So when Svidler says, this opens my king, so I don't want to do that, I'm afraid, this gives off Yasser Seirawan vibes. Okay? When Yasser does commentary, he often says things like, I don't like that. Like, that's not my kind of chess. I don't play like that. Homie, don't do that. And typically, players who are young and 2700-ish, they don't play like that. They calculate a million moves ahead, then they play the move that's the best. And sometimes the old men are right. Sometimes, the old man knowledge of, this doesn't look quite right, it's not good. And so, in this particular situation, Svidler was right, that it's too much attack for white, and he shouldn't do this. Thanks, VZDJ88. Thanks, Photo Chest, for the huge raid.
Yay.
233 viewers. What else?
Yay, thank you, Photo Chest. Archer's home, but I just texted him. I'll be up there in a moment.
Okay. So he did take on f3. Now, this is actually quite funny. So in this position, you'll notice this pawn is attacked because it's attacked. And when Svidler was analyzing this before it happened, he said, well, the engine says a move that's not very human. And when Svidler said that, I thought, that's pretty human. So I was confused. I was like, that's the move I would probably play. And he thought a human wouldn't play that. And the problem with Svidler's thinking is I don't see another move. So I don't know what he's talking about. Okay, this pawn's hanging. I'm not going to be down 2 pawns. I don't want to give up 2 pawns. So he played rook h2. So he can double rooks, or he can double on the g file, and he saves his pawn. And the queen's not attacking the rook anymore, so my rook can move vertically if necessary.
Right.
And that is what Rapport played, and the engine says that's a great move. Okay, now in this position, black isn't doing well, and Svidler was right. He said he would be scared if he was black here, and he wouldn't do this. And the engine says, I'm scared, and I'm not doing this. So white very simply wants to play rook g1, and then we're threatening all kinds of goodies, like rook takes g7, and queen takes h6, and rook takes h6, and so forth. So Praggnanandhaa did something that even I would be scared to do. He ran away. Okay, he is a kid, so sometimes you have to run away. Okay, he played king f8.
And that is a theme of this stream, running.
That's right. The king's going to run. It's a marathon. Okay. So he played bishop d1, forcing the queen out. The queen has to go to f6 because there's no other square. And now we play f4. And it's becoming clear that black's position isn't good because white's going to have this gigantic center and the bishop sucks. And as a friend of mine once told me 35 years ago, when you give a lot of pawns away, whether by accident or not, you have more open files for your rooks, which is actually true in this situation. Okay. And the engine doesn't like black's position here, and it doesn't like at all what Praggnanandhaa does. Praggnanandhaa generally likes when there's a clear plan, and he can get an advantage by outplaying his opponent. And here he's worse, and it's not clear where his king should go. And he played king e7. He wanted to run to the queen side. So he's hoping to make several moves in a row and get his king over here, then he's fine. Okay. So d4, very reasonable. King d7. Engine does play king d7. e5. You can see this bishop's not very good.
Yeah.
Queen e7. Rook g2, threatening the g-pawn. You can't give up the g-pawn. So it wants him to play rook g8. That way his other rook could, come here and he finally could run with his king. And after f5, his position's still really bad. Okay, but he played g6, which is extra bad. And now a lot of moves win. e6 is a good move, but he just played f5, which is probably better. And my queen's attacking this. I'm coming for your king. I'm coming. And this bishop is you're just playing down a piece. Your bishop has no play.
It's terrible.
So he takes, rook g7, rook f8. D takes e5 was best, but he still lost. And then e6 check. You can't take the pawn. So he moves his king away. Bishop h5. God damn.
Right.
And then again, I understand black's king is no good, and white's going to get a passed pawn on the 7th. But, okay, bishop on a7, no good. Okay, queen f6 is forced. Takes. Queen e3. Now queen e7 check wins immediately. Because after queen takes, rook takes, I play rook here and win a rook. So you have to sack the exchange and go into this lost endgame. You can't give up your b-pawn. So he played here. And in this position, Rapport played a move that shocked Svidler. And again, Svidler did the old man Saruman thing. Svidler's like, go here and take this and take this and take this, and you win. Okay, and Rapport calculates and plays the engine move. And he's like, what kind of move is that? Which is funny for Svidler because he's not as old as Saruman. And he played c4, which looks really dumb because you're weakening this pawn. But it's all based on calculation. So the king can't go here. King can't go here. Yeah. So if you play the obvious move, king here, and your idea is rook takes pawn, bishop takes pawn, and my bishop got out, right? Now b4 wins the bishop. This is the calculation he did.
Okay.
So if you take it, you lose your bishop. You agree.
Okay.
And if you play king a4, I play c5 and I win your bishop. Your bishop's trapped. I'm going to play rook takes b7 and take it. You have a free move, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what you do. I'm going to take your bishop. Truth hurts. So in this position, the game ended and Praggnanandhaa did not resign. He lost on time. He forgot he had no time left.
This was a weird ending, though, trying to learn.
Yeah. The engine says white is plus 5.5. So, yeah, the bishop on a7 is just no good. And so forth.
What was his idea of moving it back at the moment that he did?
Bishop a7? Well, it stops d4 with the tempo. Probably should have been done earlier.
Yeah.
And also, typically, in this particular position, bishop b6 is better than bishop a7 because of what happened. If the bishop needs to get back in the game, we have bishop c7, bishop d8. And instead, his bishop was, it's just trapped in there. So terrible. So nice game by Rapport because he made the game really interesting.
That was a good game.
And then Praggnanandhaa lost the thread of the game, basically.
Yeah, I enjoyed the game.
Yeah.
So I need to go upstairs for a minute and talk to Archer. So are you going to do another game?
No, I'll talk to the chat until you come back.
Well, I don't know how long I'm going to be gone.
Okay.
Well,
I can talk a long time.
You just talk, and then if you get sick of talking, you can start the next game. Because I don't know whether it's a 2-minute conversation I'm going to have with them or a 15-minute conversation.
I think it'll be a 9-minute conversation. 9.
So I'll be back. I got to go be a parent for a moment.
That's apparent.
Also, I'm getting texts from Karen about karaoke.
I'm shocked.
I don't think I can do it 2 nights in a row. Man, that was a late night for me.
Noterbeck Magnus. God, that was like a year ago. What year was that? Just got here. What is going on? Chess. My friend Wes, his favorite animal is the koala. He claims it's the cutest in the world. Is Noterbeck better than the Indian prodigies? In your opinion, I will give you somebody else's opinion. Oh, wait, I can't do that. I don't know about better. They're all good. He's having a better tournament at the moment. And then maybe next tournament he won't. A lot of people make pronouncements based on the last game. So when Magnus lost 2 games in a row, a lot of people said he's finished. Now that he's won 2 in a row, he's back and he'll win the tournament. So I don't know. It seems like you shouldn't judge somebody's career on 1 or 2 games or 1 or 2 tournaments. Yeah, they're all about the same. They're all 2,700 and so forth. Where does Hans fit in? He fits in very tight, the way he fits in. It's super tight. Tell your friend the strain of gonorrhea in koalas is the exact genetic strain found among Europeans in the 18th century. I'll make sure I tell him that. Also, what? Hans streamed yesterday. Hans stream seems so far away. Now the anal beads have gone away. Oh, I believe in yesterday. Suddenly, he's not half the GM he used to be. Ginger GM always says to play, be free. Oh, I believe in yesterday. As someone who is now blah, 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 it's nice blah, 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 and not have blah, blah, blah. Correct. That was so many words. The horologist. What? Is that like a prostitute? It's Indo Queen. Go Indo Queen, but stay there. Time to Lemming subscribed. Thank you. Good job, Indo Queen. Watches and clocks. That's less funny than I had hoped. Hey, Ben from New Zealand. No, New Zealand's getting a new prime minister. Boo, boo. Well, what about Old Zealand? And you seen the Tasmanian devil lately? Isn't he around there? Yeah, I got a postcard from New Zealand once. It looked pretty good. The whole country just from one postcard. Pretty good. Let's see, my phone's blowing up. Oh yeah, I gotta do all these cameos. Je regrette, mais je forget. The Tasmanian Devils in Tasmania, not New Zealand. Yeah, but it's close. Yeah, they're like that, son. Maybe he immigrated, exactly. Can we continue? Never. We can't do chess analysis without Karen. But I can't get the next game loaded up. Let's see. Von Foreest, Iragassi, Gukesh, Makhsudlu. Those are terrible. I don't even want to look at those games. They're so bad. We'll look at Gukesh, Makhsudlu, but just the end. Where it's like Blunder City. Where it's like, I blunder, you blunder, I blunder, you blunder, I blunder. And then they both resign. Yesterday, all my blunders seem so far away. Yeah, we'll start here. Yeah. This is a good starting point. Can't you play some bozos real quick? I cannot. They are not close. New Zealand is 2,583 miles from Australia. Well, I said it was close to Tasmania. I didn't say Australia. Also, New Zealand and Australia are like that, son. You're trying to learn just making up stats.
What now?
You fly from Sydney to Auckland is 2,000 plus miles? No, it isn't. Tasmania is part of Australia. It is further to Tasmania.
Right, I'm back.
New Zealand is closer to China than Australia. What?
Did I miss anything?
We're just talking about how far New Zealand is from Australia and Tasmania. And then they're arguing about it. So that's good.
I can never hear Tasmania without thinking about the Tasmanian devil.
Well, that's how it started.
On the Looney Tunes. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
I wasn't even watching this.
But you would never hear about Tasmania otherwise.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
That was efficient parenting. Agreed.
Yeah, I did. I got it. Well, and I made a deal. See, this is the art of the deal here. I made fresh coffee, and in return, he has to complete his language arts assignment that's due tomorrow.
You're making it now?
Without me nagging.
Well,
Yeah,
that was fast.
that's what I'm saying. I parented, made coffee, did this, did that, got back down here, and got my agreement in place. And he better do that work. I mean, I don't usually get involved in the work, but he just came back from his dad's and was struggling to complete an assignment. When I asked him about it, he said he could do it, so he's going to do it. Thank you, Indo. Archer seems too young to be drinking coffee. Well, it is a point that you bring up, Pancake Gremlin, and he's 13. But then I Googled it, and apparently 1 cup a day is fine for a 13-year-old. I thought I was actually being bad by letting him drink some coffee, but it turns out it's considered normal. Well, the internet said different.
Also, in India, no matter how old you are, the parents give their kids kulfi. So it's got to be okay in the rest of the world.
The less I got to tell people what to do, the better everybody is in life. That's my parenting methodology. The less is better.
I'm still not sure if they have vegan kulfi. I hope so. Usually they have vegan everything. Okay, so the other 2 games that were decisive in the Masters were very badly played games. So I wanted to jump into some position where, it's sort of funny.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so this is the game Gukesh Makhsudlu. And as you all know, Makhsudlu took over at the last minute for Duda, who withdrew about 10 days before the tournament started. Okay, in this position, Black has 1 move that doesn't lose. And Black played the opening and middle game quite badly and was in trouble. And now he's not. So he played Knight C3, forking the Queen and Rook. And now White only has 1 move that doesn't lose. Queen B6, attacking this Rook. Okay, and then he took the Rook. And then he took this Rook. And in this position, Black played the best move. Queen E1 check. Because, F2's hanging. Mm-hmm. Okay, so you have to play King H2. King G2 would be triple question mark.
Yeah.
Because you take check and you take check and so forth.
Yeah.
So King H2, put it in H. Okay. Then Queen takes F2 check. Bishop G2, obviously. Okay, now your knight's hanging. So played Rook takes D4, defending his knight and winning a pawn. And possibly he'll take this knight. Queen takes B7. Rook takes C4. Rook takes D1. And Rook to C2. So we're threatening mate. The only defense is to play rook g1. Okay. In this position, black played knight d4, which is fine. And white played the best move. It looks like white's in a lot of trouble here, but he unpinned his bishop and stopped knight f3 check. If it's black's turn to move, knight f3 check wins the game. Because if you play queen takes, I take it. And otherwise, queen takes rook as mate. Thanks, Latin and Blonde, for the subscription. So you play king h1, the only move. And now the position should be a draw. Although it's scary to have white. But okay, this is good counterplay. Okay, knight f5. That's a reasonable move. Now white only has one move that doesn't lose, and he found it. Queen b8 check. Excellent move. Now in this position, you can play king g7 or king h7. Makes more sense to play king g7 because the bishop's on a white square. So putting your king on a white square is risky. For example, if I play g4 and you blunder knight here check, I take it. God damn. And then when you take back, bishop e4 check, and I take your queen. And I win. So he played the better, king g7. Okay, and this is the time control. So now, white should have thought for like 5 hours and played the only move that draws. Instead, he moved relatively quickly and played a move that loses. Okay, the only move that draws is g4.
Was he in time travel?
No, this is time. This is it. This is 41.
Oh,
just got
you
a time
said
trouble.
that.
Yeah.
I was looking over here on the left and I was confused because it said 39 seconds.
Right. So he should play g4, and that's the only move that draws. Okay. Instead, he played a6, which loses. Knight takes. He played rook a2, which is a mistake. Knight takes g3 check wins. After king h2, the way to win is very funny. You play knight back to f5. Okay. And now if the guy gets the counterplay that looks pretty good, a pretty good counterplay, I play rook a2. Queening gets checkmated because I take it. You can't take with the bishop because it's pinned. So you take with the queen. And now you get smothered mated. Check, 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 and mate.
Wow.
Okay. So
cool.
so white can't play a7, a8 queen, and the engine says black should be winning after knight here, and then play rook a2. Instead, he didn't do that. He didn't play knight takes g3. He played rook a2, which is a mistake. Now, once again, white only has one move that doesn't lose, and he blundered. He played queen e5 check. Once again, g4 is a draw. Okay. Right. And now black made a 37 question mark move.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, he made the worst move ever. And after his move, he's losing. It's hard to believe black's losing because black's crushing him. He played king g6, double question mark. Horrible blunder. And in this position, you can no longer play knight g3 because of that line that I showed you with queen g3 and bishop e4. And now in that position, if it was black's turn to move and he could cheat, you could play knight g3, queen g3, bishop e4, f5, attacking the bishop. But white plays g4, and this is when Makhsudlu realized he can't play knight g3 check. So now he had his head in his hands and he was like crying. Because he was winning, he was trying to win, and now he's lost. And he saw g4, he just probably didn't see after knight g3, you just take it.
Right.
And then takes, bishop check, and rook takes, queen wins. And g4 stops f5 because I can just take on f5 first, and then take the queen. Mm-hmm. So after g4, now black's lost. King here was the worst move ever. Any other move was better. Any move, even f6 was better. Okay. And every other move was in fact, in this position, after queen e5 check, it should be a draw by perpetual. Okay, but after king here, now white's winning. He played knight e3, bishop e4 check. King doesn't really have anywhere to go because he played king g6. So he plays f5, queen d6 check. Yeah, it doesn't matter where your king goes. What's funny about this position is once the king moves, doesn't matter where, black has no threat. This looks really daunting, right? Mm-hmm. But if it was black's move, you can't do any of that. Everything stopped. Yeah. So white's going to play rook b1 and rook b7 check and mate. He took on f5, which is also good. Rook b1 also wins. Yeah, and then black has no threat, which is weird because it looks scary. Looks like black has a threat, but he does not. Yeah. So he played g4, and that gets mated immediately. If you play king here, then bishop here is mate. Nice mate. And then here he resigned. If you move your king here, which is the only legal move, then I have queen g8 mate and queen h6 mate, depending on your preference. So basically, one bad move ruined a big comeback because Makhsudlu had a bad position for most of the game. He fought back to an equal or winning position, and then in this position, he played king g6, losing. And man, after g4, if you could see the video of him like choking on his rage, like, oh my God, after g4, he was like, what? Knight g3, they just take it. And you can miss something like that, especially when you're tired from a 4.5-hour game. Everybody who plays 2,700, so forth. Yeah. By the way, looking at him, he looks like he's about to retire, but he's actually a kid.
How old is he?
He's like 20, 19.
I can't really tell in that picture.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that was an interesting game.
Yeah, Parham Makhsudlu about 4 years ago was world junior champion. Now, I could be wrong, and I probably am, but he might be, or he might not be. Never mind. Somebody that's like his rating or him or similar was either kicked out of Lead Chess or Chess.com, but I forgot which one. And it could be that it wasn't him. However, the chat knows everything.
Well, they're talking about semi-banned
on Lead Chess. Also banned on Lead Chess. Yeah, right.
Who was?
Him. Makhsudlu. Oh. Yeah, I knew that either him or somebody like him, like with a similar rating, was on trouble either on Lead Chess or Chess.com. I forgot which one it was. But yeah, the chat knows all that stuff. Banned on Lead Chess. Yeah.
But yet, Magnus will play him?
Exactly. Shocking.
Has no problem playing him.
Oh, Sindarov was banned also? Man, tough. He's in the challengers group.
That's what I'm saying, Pancake Grandma.
How come Magnus doesn't mind playing him? I'll tell you why. Because he didn't beat Magnus. Oh, snap. God damn. And I agree, if I thought somebody was cheating, if I thought that, and I beat them, then that would be great. That's fine. Who I care? If they're cheating and I beat them, good. By the way, on ICC, before you guys were born, I was playing in a tournament online. Tournament ended, and a week later, they said one of the guys I beat was cheating. One of the guys I beat was using an engine, but I beat him.
Kind of like mittens.
Yeah, and somebody else was cheating that I lost to. So I played 2 cheaters out of like 7 games.
Chess me out. I never played on ICC.
Isn't ICC the band that drinks Fago? What? Was your engine better? Man, engines 30 years ago on ICC weren't too good.
ICC's still around.
ICC still has tournaments and they still have video. It's still going strong. Not too strong. Are you going to play with subs today? I will not.
Aviv still gets on ICC.
He's like an admin, yeah.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he's been an admin forever.
I didn't even know
since they started. Yeah.
He's probably embarrassed and didn't tell me.
Damn,
harsh. I'm just kidding. But no, they do have tournaments there.
You didn't miss all the games because I'm streaming another hour. So you're going to see at least 2 more, maybe 3. Okay, so the next, we'll look at this game, but not the whole game because the game's terrible. God, everything's red. Every move is red. Okay, we'll get to the exciting part. Okay, so this is the game von Foreest versus Iragassi. As you all know, most of them don't know. About 95% of them don't know. Von Foreest's brother is also very good. So Jordan is the good one.
They know.
The other one's also really good, but not as good. His name is Lucas. So there's 2 von Foreests. And one time I was in a tournament in the Netherlands, and they were just little kids. They weren't. I don't know if they even played chess. They were there watching the tournament, and somebody said the von Foreest brothers are here, but I couldn't find them. You know why?
Does it have something to do with Forrest Gump?
No, I couldn't see the von Foreest for the trees.
Oh.
I couldn't. There's all these people who are really tall. It was the Netherlands. There were trees everywhere.
I thought you were going to say, in keeping with our running theme, run, Forest, run. That's what I thought you were getting at.
Von Foreest is a place to park your van in the forest.
Run, Forest, run.
Nice setup, bad execution.
My joke's better.
Boo, you're banned.
My joke's better.
No, my joke's better because
it goes with the theme.
You didn't understand. In the Holland, the people are really tall.
Yeah.
So that's why I couldn't see them because of the trees.
Right.
They're really tall. Does Lucas live on the 2nd floor? That's Luca, not Lucas.
I knew who he was, Ben Ricci.
It's Luca. Come on, trying to learn. Get your songs right. My name is Luca. I live on the 2nd floor. Okay. So luckily, I skipped the first 30 moves of the game because basically nothing happened the last 15 moves. They just moved around and around and around and around. And this position, and a similar position to this, like you see these pieces, that's been there since like move 10, and then nothing happened. Okay, then they had all they can stands, they can't stands no more. Now, Karen, if you ever want to be a super GM, you have to play like this. Okay, so black played a move you would never think of.
Right,
and then white played a move you would never think of.
Wait, what?
It's black's turn.
Okay.
Black played a move you would never think of. Then white's response you would also never think of.
All right, well, go ahead.
Because their moves are weird.
Bad?
They're not bad. They're just like,
weird.
Who would think of them? Queen G8. And I know why he played it.
I guess he wants to put the bishop
there. Yeah, bishop F7, attack the C pawn.
Yeah.
Okay. Then white, not to be outdone by Queen G8, Queen E1. So if you want to be super GM, move your queen back to the back row.
1 square.
Okay. Then he played bishop F7, which is a mistake. Okay. The bishop here was defending this diagonal. So now white broke through with B5, which was actually correct. The first correct move of the game. Okay. And you don't want to take, because after knight takes, all your pawns are hanging. So he played C5. And now the knight comes into C6. Now, if the bishop was here, I literally wouldn't care about that. But now I figuratively do care about it. And in this position, black should have done something that Gufeld would say is blasphemy. However, Gufeld's not alive, so he can still do it. He has to give up his King's Indian bishop. He has to take this and then give up his bishop so the knight doesn't come hopping in. And then he can take the pawn on C6. Or he can play Queen E8 and take it later. Either one's fine. And black's doing fine here. And a lot of people just won't give up their King's Indian bishop. So they don't play the right move. So after knight C6, Iragassi played a very bad move. Rook D7. Not good. And now von Foreest played a brilliant move. And in this position, you'll notice Iragassi played rook d7 defending his a-pawn. Mm-hmm. And then you'll also notice von Foreest didn't notice that. So he just took it. Oh, snap. Now, this is a brilliant move. It's the best move. And what I didn't like was when he played the move, they have this on video, von Foreest looked at Iragassi and said, Gotcha, bitch. I couldn't believe he did that. Anyway, so he took the knight, obviously, and then rook takes d6. So he sacked a piece, but that's a pretty good pawn, and that's a pretty bad pawn on b6. And here comes knight d5 and so forth. Also, here comes knight a4. So it's an excellent piece sacrifice. Now, in this position, black's only hope is bishop takes c4, but he made a mistake because it's too complicated. Knight takes c4. Now we win the b6 pawn. Takes. And these two pawns are worth more than a piece. They're just too strong. And this knight's sort of out of play, and this pawn's very weak, and so forth. Now, if two engines were playing, black would put up a big fight, and maybe even black can draw, maybe. But when two humans are playing, and we're trying to figure out how to stop two passed pawns, and we're not an engine, we're not playing the right move. So in this position, bishop e5 is probably best. Knight f6 is close. He played knight f6, getting his knight back into the game. e5 is the best move. Knight d7 is the best move. And now you will know Jordan's name is the Lord when you see his next move. Yeah, Jordan actually finished the game pretty well.
Yeah, what is it? What's the next move?
Rook takes g6. God damn. So he didn't take the rook, which is correct not to take it. If you take it, I check. And you can't go here because this is mate. So you have to go here. Then I take this with check. And then king f8's the best move, but it doesn't matter. Then e6. Your knight's hanging. And bishop takes c5 if you move your knight, and so forth. And the engine says plus 1,000 for white. 3 passed pawns, what else? So rook takes g6 was best. He played knight takes e5, which is also best. Pretty good in time trouble. Rook d6 is best. And now black blundered. Black should play either king h8, getting his king off of this diagonal, or queen f8, attacking the rook and giving the king an extra square on g8. But instead he played rook e8, which is a mistake. Queen d2, which is an excellent move, threatening the pawn on f4, defending the rook. And now this pawn is attacked because his rook isn't defending it anymore. Queen f7, bishop takes c5. Rook c7 is a mistake. He should play rook d7. Bishop g1, and these pawns are just way too strong. And now white has 3 pawns for a piece. This pawn is weak. These pawns are queening, and black doesn't have any counterplay. Black can't do stuff. Black just sits here and loses. Now what's funny is the engine wants to play like a maniac because the engine knows in the long run it's going to lose. So the engine plays knight takes f3. God damn. Then after gf plays queen h5 and tries to get counterplay. Then after queen f4, bishop takes b5. And white's winning, but this is trickier. White's actually up 2 pawns here instead of being down a piece. Okay, but he played instead rook c8, a7. God damn. Bishop e6, knight e4, and the pawns are just too strong on the queen side. Queen d3, you can't take the rook because I double check you this way and then mate. So he played bishop f5, rook a6, not the best move, but it doesn't matter. Takes, knight e5 attacking the queen. Queen defends the rook on c1. Now we're threatening the queen. Never play f3, trying to get counterplay. White played the best move, queen f1, defending his pawn on g2. Takes. He took with the king, which is excellent because he wants to trade queens. He's looking to trade queens so he can get queens over here. You can't play queen g6 check because the rook is defending that. So he has to move his queen away. Then queen f5 check. And then bishop d4. And black resigned. You can't defend everything. This pawn's queening, the rook is defending both. And you're down 3 pawns, and here I'm going to take the knight next move, and so forth. And he resigned. So actually, Von Foreest, the last 20 moves played pretty well. The middle 20 moves, not as good. And Iragassi and Gukesh were having terrible tournaments, although Gukesh won a lost position this round. So he's improving. And the one who was having a great tournament, the one Indian teenager who was killing it, Praggnanandhaa, he lost today. So basically the truth hurts.
Now, wasn't Jordan Von Foreest part of Magnus's team to get him ready for
I believe so.
World
And 2 years ago, he won this tournament, even though he was the lowest rated player.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember.
That was an amazing game. These games are too complicated for humans. So that's why there's a lot of mistakes. But they like it that way. Von Foreest and Iragassi, they like to mix it up. Usually, in the past, the top players, they like to be in control. Slightly better, clearly better, no counterplay, grind. And players today, especially the young ones, they want a messy position, and then you outplay your opponent and you win. That's what they like Abdusattorov. Okay, let's go back to round 7 yesterday. Yesterday, there were a lot of decisive games. And I don't want to look at the whole games, but I want to get a sense.
Did I schedule a collab with Indo? Not yet. Indo and I need to do one, and she agrees. But I need to reach out to her. I don't know if she's still on the stream.
Okay, now in this position, this is from yesterday's game between Iragassi and Abdusattorov. And black is better because black has this nice pass pawn of the 7th rank. And the engine says black's up about 0.7 and that white should play rook to d3 and try to win the pawn. Trying is the first step to failure. And instead, he went down in flames pretty quickly. Instead of playing a boring passive move trying to defend, Iragassi played the most exciting move, aggressive move, trying to get counterplay, because that's what they do. And he played queen takes b7, attacking the bishop on e7 and winning a pawn and attacking this pawn. Seems pretty good. Unfortunately, this is the pawn. That's the important pawn, not these other pawns. So black correctly played bishop g5, attacking the rook and keeping more defensive his pawn. Rook c3, queen takes h5, threatening the rook. Queen f3. And in this position, it's unclear whose king is safer, but it looks like black's king is safer because black has pawns in front of his king. So black played queen h3, keeping the queens on the board. And this pawn is just too strong. White tried to trade queens with bishop h2, rook g4 check. Bishop went back to g3. h6 getting loofed. White tried to trade queens again, and black said no. Then white never played f3. Not a good move. Queen f3 was better. Rook to d4. White's king is hopelessly exposed. Queen h2, trying to trade queens again. Bishop h4, exclamation mark, not trading queens. And the idea is you can't win this pawn because your bishop's hanging on g3. So he played king f1. He doubled up on the bubble up. And you can see white's position is in shambles here. White's king looks ridiculous and his pawn is too strong. Bishop f2. And now black played a move that Karen would definitely play.
Okay.
Now, it's not even necessarily the best move. But when I show the move, Karen's going to give a double take and then a double check. You ready for this move? Are you sitting down?
Sure.
You sure? All right, here we go. Bam. Oh, snap. So you can't take the rook because queen takes d1 check. And now white has to be on the lookout for rook e1 check. So he played f6, never play f6. Not a good move. gf, queen h3, and now rook f4, exclam. Bishop takes a7, that's an important pawn, except for one thing. Queen takes e5, threatening queen e1 check. Bishop e3, stopping queen e1 check. Queen b5 check. Queen e2, god damn.
Yeah, that's frightening.
Queen f1. And now black played very nicely to win. Everything wins, but he played the nicest. Rook check. This is really nice what he does. It's like the most beautiful way to win. This is what happens when you don't resign. Then Abdusattorov makes you wish you resigned. Takes. And now what's the most beautiful winning move for black?
Let's see. I don't see it.
There's two ways to win immediately. One is bishop e1, which threatens rook h4 mate, and it threatens to queen.
Okay.
Because the bishop's blocking the rook. And then there's the beautiful way to win. That's the boring way to win.
That seemed beautiful.
No. This is beautiful. Ready? Ready?
Yeah.
Bam! First played in the game, gotcha versus
I
bitch.
even looked at that move. I couldn't see how to win.
That threatens rook h3 mate. It threatens rook takes rook check. And if you take the rook, I queen would check, which also mates you and wins your rook.
Darn.
God damn.
I couldn't put it all together. I mean, I saw that they were about to queen.
It's the most winning position of all time. And Iragassi resigned. And that's your tournament leader, Abdusattorov.
That was pretty cool. Let me text Karen real quick.
What country? Uzbekistan. Yeah, bishop e1 was just as good, but rook takes f3 gets more style points.
All right.
So that wasn't great defense from Iragassi, not having the best tournament ever. Conversely, Abdusattorov is having the best tournament ever. God damn.
How's the poker going? Sporbital asks. I think it's going pretty well. I watched part of a poker video today, and I had to do some various household type tasks. So I didn't do a whole lot of poker today, but I did study a little bit.
Okay, this is the game played yesterday between Gukesh and Wesley So. Another Italian. I mean, it was Uri Lopez. It just looked like an Italian. So Wesley's going to play the Berlin, and then he's going to offer a draw and accept a draw and play for a draw. And Gukesh is like, no, let's just play a normal game.
Excuse me, yawned.
And he played early d5. That's why he didn't play d6 earlier. And he takes with the queen. That way his pawn's defended and his bishop can get out and e4 can happen. Bishop c4. Went back to d8. Always go back. b4. Knight bd2. And this position's about equal. Very Wesley-like. Not really Gukesh-like. Gukesh likes more interesting play. He's trying to make the game interesting, but trying is the first step to failure. Wesley's just playing boring, solid. Yeah, the engine doesn't like bishop b2. It wants to play knight e4 here. Queen d7. Rook e2 doesn't like that. Bishop f5. He doubles rooks also. Engine's not too happy with that move. Sort of slow. Both sides playing very slow. And then Wesley wants to play knight to f4. Bishop c1's a good move. So after knight f4, you can chop it off. Now Wesley doesn't want to be on this diagonal, so he plays king h8, putting in an h. The engine says white is slightly better here. Knight h4 is good. Saves his bishop. And for the last several moves, the engine wants to play queen d1 and pretend to put pressure on the knight. Pretending is fun. And finally, he did play it. And Wesley played queen d8, also pretending he's putting pressure on the knight. b5. The engine likes white.
It's funny how there's rooks are similar and the same idea.
Yeah, that's right. Now he's actually threatening this.
They're copying each other.
Knight f5. Always play bishop f8. Queen c2. Takes. b6. Okay. Now, if you remember the game that I looked at when the stream started between Fabi and Magnus, Fabi played f4, e5, was overextended and lost quickly. Okay? And this game, nobody's doing anything. They move around and around and around. Wesley plays queen d5, queen d8, queen d7, queen d5. This guy plays queen c2, queen d1, queen c2. And the bishop goes to b2, then back to c1. This bishop goes here, and then here, and then here. And nobody does anything, and it's about equal. Okay, and now Gukesh had all he could stands. He can't stands no more. And here the engine says he's slightly better, and he lost the game very quickly because he went crazy, basically. If you want to go crazy, the Matt Larson-esque g4 is actually reasonable, attacking the knight and defending your knight. But he played d4, which is actually bad. And now black isn't worse anymore. Now black is fine. And Wesley played very precisely until the end of the game, and Gukesh fell apart. So after d4, he played knight f4. And the problem is, this rook is getting attacked. If you play rook e3 or rook d2, my knight comes to c4. So he took the knight. Oh no, he played rook d2. He should take the knight. Okay, he's still slightly worse because he got rid of his bishop on c1. Okay, then he played queen d5. This knight can't move anywhere because queen g2 mate. And already, because of rook d2, white's losing. This knight's not defended sufficiently. This knight can't move. This knight's great. It's weird not to take this knight on f4 and let the knight sit there. It's too strong. He played knight e3 attacking the queen, but the queen was attacking b5, so black's up a pawn. Then he played d5 attacking the rook. The rook went to the nice g6 square. And basically black has taken over and he's won a pawn. And then white makes further errors, losing the game quickly. Bishop c5. And here he blundered again. He played queen e4, which loses the game immediately to bishop takes e3. You can't take with the pawn because your knight's hanging here. So if you took with the pawn, well, actually, he did do that. Okay, so if he takes with the queen, then knight c4 forks the queen and rook. I just keep winning material. So he took with the pawn. The engine wants to play knight takes h3 check and then take the knight. Wesley played knight c4, which is also good. And then the rook's attacked, and this is attacked, and it's all attacked. He saved his rook. Knight d6 attacking the queen. If the queen moves away, which is a good idea, then knight d3 wins the exchange. And not only does it win the exchange, your knight's hanging. So maybe I win more than the exchange. I don't know what white does there. So in this position, white resigned. And the game just went from white better to white collapsing and losing immediately. Very bad play by Gukesh. And as you can tell by the time, Gukesh was playing the end of the game on his increment.
Oh, excuse me.
34 seconds means he gets played with 4 seconds on his clock and got to 34 seconds. So very poor end of the game from Gukesh. Wesley just very solid, waiting for opponent's blunders, and his opponent blundered. So he won 2 in a row. Wesley did. And that was yesterday. After drawing his first 5 games, he won his next 2, and today he drew with Ding. So he's tied for second place, I believe. Go Wesley. Always go Wesley. And then...
I don't know. I always think of that song, Go West.
Go West.
Say Go Wesley.
Now, Magnus played very strange yesterday against Rapport, but he stopped the bleeding. Losing all of his games, terrible. It was a Petrov, and Magnus played the unusual knight to d3, confusing the audience. And then queen e2, queen e7, knight f4, threatening knight d5. In fact, if it was white's move now, knight d5 would win the game. Game's over. So black has 2 ways to do something about this. Knight f6 or c6. For some reason, knight c6 is also a move. I guess because after knight d5, we have knight d4. Then both sides resign. But he played c6, which is more natural. Now, unfortunately for me, Magnus played the engine move. So what did white play? Remember, it's unfortunate for me.
Unfortunate?
For me.
F3?
F3. That's the engine move. Knight goes back. D4. And this looks like white has nothing, but white's actually a little better here. Bishop F5 threatening the pawn because the queen's pinned. C4, that's explosive. And white's a little bit better. Not much, but a little bit. King F2. The engine doesn't like King F2 and now says black is fine after knight B4. King F2 is a weird move. Queen back to D1. And the engine says black's doing fine here. And he long castled. Not the engine choice, but reasonable. Knight to D3. D5 is the engine choice. C5 is the engine choice. Then they trade everything. And in this position, black played the best move. And again, it's not a move a lot of you would consider, but it's Rapport. So it's the first thing he considers. Knight E4 check. God damn. Engine approved. FE4. DE4 attacking the bishop. Bishop E2 is the only move it says. And he played Queen F6, which is a mistake. The engine wants him to play Queen H4 check. And the idea is after here, this is a better version. This pawn here is bad. It should be here to keep the white king safe. Here it gives black extra options. But he played Queen F6. Bishop E3. Bishop takes C5. Rook F1. And he's like, I'm up a piece. Check, which is a blunder. King G1. And black's just down a piece here. And I think in this position, it wants to play bishop takes D4. Then, black gets some pawns for the piece, and white's king is a little funny. The engine still prefers white, but not like winning, just like, +1 or something.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to be getting off that file.
Yeah, after this, it's just winning because we're attacking the bishop. This is a very strange move. He must have miscalculated something. Okay, so it looks like you can play bishop D6 threatening this. Mm-hmm. And that's why he played Queen H4 check. But white just takes the bishop because it's not mate. The king just walks away.
Right, yeah.
So I guess Rapport misunderstood this position. He's down 2 pieces now. That's a bit much. And all right, down 2 pieces. So.
Rapport ain't going down like no punk.
Yeah, he went down like a punk. He's down 2 pieces. He won one of his pieces back, but that's it's not good enough.
Hey, Finegold.
92. Queen H3 forcing a queen trade. And then Rapport resigned. Because he's down a piece for nothing. So, very poor game from Rapport. And that's what you need in this tournament is you need a little luck. You got to play people when they're playing a bad game and beat them, and then draw the rest of your games, get +3, and get second place. Unfortunately, sometimes Magnus tries to take things into his own hands and forces the action. And here, black forced the action with this piece sack, which wasn't absolutely necessary. And then Magnus calculated the defense well. That's actually one thing Magnus is quite good at. When somebody's sacking material and attacking him, he's good at finding the only defense and then being up material. It looks good when it works. When it doesn't work, then you're like, why did he give all his pieces away? So he tried and he failed miserably. The lesson is...
never try.
Never try. 4,000 viewers.
Yay.
There was a marker, hey Finegold, from Finegold.
That was a high point for a Finn.
Mm-hmm.
But not really. Now let me see. 9 to 9:30. Karen's talking to me about karaoke. I think I'm too tired. I'm yawning.
Let's see what's going on in the game. Mm-hmm.
It's
NFL,
possible I could go.
San Fran. 9-6. My birthday. 9-6-6-9. It's the most boring game ever. Finegold gifted a sub.
Yay. Thank you, Finn.
You should unretire and play in the next Tata Steel. That's because they would invite me. Yeah, you can't just go to Tata Steel and play. They have to invite you. They would disinvite me. They would do the opposite. They would ban me and my children's children.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's see.
Who's streaming? Let's see.
Carlsen, Rapport. What round is? 7.
So what time are we going to stream? I guess I can stream a bit more.
I'm streaming till 9 because I'm on Chess TV till 9.
I forgot Chess TV. Okay, yeah. Good. That works for my schedule too.
Okay, let's have a look at Praggnanandhaa on Foreest. So this is like a prototypical Praggnanandhaa game. This is from yesterday. This is exactly how Praggnanandhaa plays when he's playing well. And he's got the right opponent, Van Foreest. Okay. So this line's been played a lot this tournament. And he played ace. They've been playing e6 for the most part. A6 isn't played very often. Bishop d2, then e6, b5, c5. It's all blocked up. Okay. Now, this move is very committal and probably bad, but that's how Van Foreest plays. Very committal and probably bad. Knight e4 is engine approved, bishop e7, but he likes to mix things up. Okay, e5. And this position, White played a very strange move. It's the second engine move. But basically, you have to ignore what Black's doing here and do what you're doing on the queen side. So one thing White can do is knight a2 and then knight to b4 and put pressure here. He played queen a3, and the idea is I'm going to take this and your a-pawn's pinned, so I'm just winning. Because I'm going to keep taking on b5. Mm-hmm. Okay, and in this position, the best move is b4, sacrificing a pawn, and he played it. Keeping White's, pieces at bay there. Rook b8, back to a3, and then a5. So Black's down a pawn, but he is dominating the b file. White's queen is stuck on a3, which seems sort of silly. And the engine says Black has compensation for the pawn, but not quite enough. Okay, bishop e2, bishop e7, castles, rook fd1. He's like, I'm a pawn up. Great. And e4 is hated by the engine. It really hates this move. It wants to play rook e8. And, it's not clear if I want to play e4 or take this. Typically, when I play rook e8, my intention is to take this. You can't take with the knight because your c-pawn's hanging. If you take with the pawn, then I play knight f8, knight e6. So I'm putting pressure on the pawn, and my knight's really good on e6. So that's probably the idea behind this move. Mm-hmm. But instead he played e4, knight e1, and now Black's going to try to win on the king's side, and White's already winning on the queen's side. The move e4 blocks the bishop. So heretofore, white couldn't play rook b1 because the bishop was defending it. Now I can play rook b1 and b4 and be up a pawn and push my queen side. So e4, not good. So in this game, when Von Foreest makes big decisions like e5 or e4, they're bad.
So let me just ask a quick question. So when you say black's winning on the king side and white's winning on the queen side, what are you basing that on? All the black's pieces are over there?
Yeah, usually when you have like an arrow pointing in one direction, that'll, white has more space over here.
Yeah, I can see
white's a pawn up on the queen side, and white's going to play b4 and be a pawn up and have pass pawn. Black is going to attack on the king side, but his bishop isn't on this diagonal. So it's going to be really hard and take a long time to play like knight here and get your rook in here and get your queen over here. It just takes forever because this bishop should be on c7. So we can do those things more quickly. Okay, bishop g4. He wants to trade the white squared bishops. Then you can start attacking on the king side more. Rook b1, he wants to play b4. And he plays b4. And the engine just says white's winning. I mean, e4 is just a very bad strategical move. Because he doesn't really have a king side attack to speak of. He's just waiting to lose on the queen side. Because he's down a pawn.
Yeah, because...
Yeah, he's down a pawn. So he's waiting to lose. Nice move. Looks like it's almost resigns right away. Damn. But he defends. Never play f3. This gives him access to the d3 square. So his knight can go to e5. He wants to take this, mess up white's pawns, black's pawns. If black takes, then my knight can come in here. Which is what happens. Plays knight c2 because he doesn't want his rook to get trapped. So he lets make sure his rook can get out. And now the bishop is defending the a5 pawn. So this is just a safe move. In this position, h4 is fine. In what position? Oh, it was later in the game. Okay, this is fine. Yeah, here, Svidler was shocked at the move that Praggnanandhaa played. He thought that it was nice that this is open here because black is sort of tied down to the a pawn, so maybe white can get over here soon. And he played f4, locking it up. And he was like surprised by that move, but it doesn't matter. It's so winning. So they locked up the king side.
So he thought that king was and white and was going to come up this way?
Yeah, like white could play rook g1 and try to come up in here.
Yeah.
But they're sort of blocking it up.
Okay.
Okay, he defended his c pawn. Knight b4 is a really strong move. So you're threatening this and this. So the guy takes it. Oh, you play knight b8. If he takes it, we play a6. And if you take the pawn and I take this, you can't save c6. It's falling. Position's collapsing. And if you play rook a7, then I can take on b4. So knight b4 was really good. And, I mean, knight b8's like resigning. You can't play moves like knight b8. You gotta, come on. Take your knight on b4. Knight f7. The knight can take this or come to d6. Whichever is funnier. Now he comes in this way. Yeah, he's just having fun. In this position, I want to play knight takes c6. You can't take with the rook because I queen, and you can't take with the king because I take your knight. So this is a like unstoppable threat. So he played here, stopping it, but giving this away. Played knight here. He wants to play knight check and then queen. So rook a8's forced. Bishop a5. He takes the pawn. Knight check. Bishop takes. Knight takes c6. Rook takes g7. And he resigned here. And this is a position Kaidanov would say black is down a king. White's king's really good and black's king's ridiculous. And he says this wins, king here, mate. Or e6, king here, king takes pawn. And the engine says +10 for white. So that was like a lot of fun for Praggnanandhaa. But it really showed a lack of understanding, I think, for Jordan. Play e5, which is not recommended by the engine. And e4 is just a really bad move. E4 is just, I mean, we need to have the option to keep this open so we can play knight e4 later, or knight f8 to e6 and pressure d5. We would like white to take this at some point so we can take this. So this is just like basically giving up. Now white's winning over here, and black didn't give any counterplay against the king. So now saying black's winning on the king's side. Black is winning on the king's side eventually, but since the bishop's on e7, we can't get our bishop to this diagonal. We can't get our queen out here.
And the knights can't really
It's just too
anywhere.
slow. E4 is just an incredibly bad move. And the thing is, sometimes you make incredibly bad moves and then the game goes on. Problem with this move is you can't take it back.
Yeah.
You can't be like, wait, I'll go back here because I like my bishop, stopping b4. So you can't sack a pawn, control the b file, then give the b file back and let the guy play b4. That just doesn't make any sense. Now I'm just up a passed pawn. And the queen's not good here, especially if you want to attack the king. So a very sloppy game by Van Foreest. Nice game by Praggnanandhaa, which helped him get very, very, very close to 2,700, which unfortunately he needed to draw or win today, I think, to get right to 2,700, but he lost. So back to the drawing board. It'll be 2,700 by the end of the tournament. So
Hey, Donko.
it's all good in the hood.
You got modded. Well, I missed it. I was watching the chess. Let me go back up now.
All right, I'm going to go to the challengers and see if there's anything from the last 2 days I wanted to look at. I'm sure there is. Oh yeah, this is just the ending of this is funny. I want to show you the ending of this. Okay.
It won't let you use the word trash.
Okay. So this is the game Yilmaz Sindarov. Yilmaz is fighting for first. Sindarov is like +1 maybe. Okay. And here, if you count the material, white's up a rook. And black doesn't have enough compensation. So white's winning and the engine says like +9. That's not the part I'm interested in. Okay, he plays rook c1. Black's in terrible time trouble, so he's not resigning. And then he plays king d1, knight b4, rook c4, threatens queen takes bishop mate, queen c3. So here, black played the worst move in the history of chess. You can't play a worse move. You can't. Any move you say now is better than the move he played. I'm not kidding. He played the worst move on the board. Yeah, of all legal moves, if you said like queen d4 hanging the queen, that's better than what he did.
What he did, queen g4?
Queen g4 is the best move.
Oh, well, that's what I would play.
Right. Queen g4 check, not only is it the best move, okay, white's completely winning here. But after the move queen c3, after queen g4, white only has one move that wins. So queen c3 is a weird move because he has to go back. It's the only move that wins. And then after here, that's a repetition. And white doesn't want a repetition when he's up a rook.
Right.
But I don't think he saw queen g4 check.
Oh.
And I know black didn't see queen g4 check.
So what did they play instead?
Right, whatever the worst move on the board is.
I don't know what
Okay, so in this position, probably black thought my knight's hanging because his knight's hanging. So he played knight d3, and he forgot his f6 pawn was, hey, god damn. Then after king g8, I play rook g1. Damn, terrible. And if you play queen g7, I play queen takes rook check, and then I can trade queens or take your knight, whatever. So he resigned. The knight d3 is the worst move ever. But what's funny is, if he had played this, white can play king e1, king c1, rook f3, or queen f3, and king c1 and king e1 lose. King c1, knight takes pawn check, wins the queen. And I think this wins the queen too. There's no, you have to take the knight. And rook f3 is a draw, but I forgot why. Yeah, there's a perpetual check here. Yeah, and if you play rook here, I play rook e8 check and I'm better. Because if you play king here, it's mate. Then king here is mate. So it's weird that the guy played queen c3, and then after queen here check, in this position he played here, after queen g4 check, he has to go back. I think he didn't see queen g4 check because he was looking at this. Mm-hmm. And he thought, queen c3, I'm threatening the knight and I'm threatening this. I'm the best. And then he was the best. Yeah, he was right. Yeah. Knight d3 is such an awful move because it stops black's counterplay. Black doesn't really have any counterplay if you're an engine, but if you're a human, this is scary.
He's not playing viewers tonight, Risky.
Yeah. You got to risk it to get the biscuit. And that game was played today. Thanks, Finegold. You're the best. Okay, and then you have to look at this whole game, and you have to look at this game over and over and over and over again, and never stop looking at it.
Yeah.
It's a French defense, and everything white did was wrong. Everything black did was right. Mm. So it's really good if you're black in the French. And Adiban's having a very bad tournament.
Hey, flip it around.
I am. Yeah, I was. Yeah. Now, what's funny is Supi has Louis Paulo. I guess he's from Brazil. He has family there that live in the Netherlands. They didn't come from Brazil. They live in the Netherlands. And they were visiting the tournament today, and they got kicked out. Yeah, because they were singing it because he had a bad position. And they said, hang on, Supi, Supi, hang on. Dun, dun, dun,
That's real bad.
Man, I couldn't believe it.
The problem with you can't have such long lead up.
I can.
I can't listen to that many words.
Yeah, but there's 4,000 people here. They can listen.
Well.
I thought there was no Tata today. Nope, Tata all day today. Both sections. Hey, Toast has heard of the song. That's crazy.
You know that feeling, being kicked out.
I don't know what the time control is. All I know is Supi did bad this game. Yeah. Yeah, he was... You won't get this joke. Only Bonarici will get this joke. He's the only person who'll get it. I'm not sure if he's even here.
He was here earlier.
There's 4,000 people. I think Bonarici is the only one who's going to get this joke. So earlier in the tournament, Supi was doing badly and decided to quit chess. He was going to sell all his chess books. He was having a Supi sales.
Oh, yeah. Supi sales.
You heard of Supi sales?
Yeah, he was on that match game show, wasn't he?
Probably.
And that's the only reason I would know about him.
He was a weatherman in Detroit.
I know
he wasn't a weatherman. He was a comedian.
I'm pretty sure he was on the match game.
He was a comedian.
Yeah.
Sort of.
He was. That's the only reason I know him is.
I just know because he's from Detroit. That's not even funny. Bonarici, you're banned. Supi sales died before half of you were born.
I remember Supi.
I remember Supi sales. Good name.
Barely, but I do.
Okay, so let's look at the French. White played the advanced variation. Bishop d7 is what I used to play when I played the French 40 years ago. Knight g7. And here White played knight d6 mate. Oh, it was a bughouse game. No. Knight g6 is an odd move. Usually the knight's badly placed there. Usually want to play b3 either, but I guess he played bishop e3. Now, the guy who worked at the St. Louis Chess Club, I forgot his name. He's probably watching the stream. What's his name? I've only known him for 10 years.
There's a lot of guys that worked there.
Yeah, he was an older guy. He was a doctor. He quit being a doctor to work at the chess club. He was an ER doctor.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, he would play bishop e3 early in the advance, and he would play queen d2 if you attacked his pawn. Okay. Actually, the engine says queen d2 and knight a3 are the best moves. So b3 usually don't want to play. I used to play a5 when they played a3. Yeah, white's not playing this very well. Okay, knight a7 is good because you want to play bishop b5 or knight b5.
Kind of like in one of my variations.
Yeah, now he wants to go in here. You can't play rook c1 because your pawn's attacked, and your pawn's attacked anyway. So knight b1 is the engine move. It's hard for a human to play. It defends c3 and a3. Then he went back so he could play bishop b5. And he did. He didn't want to trade white squared bishops. Black played bishop a6. Knight can still go to b5. a4 is a very bad move. It's amazing how bad these guys are. Like, they play moves that are strategically terrible. It gives up the b4 square, right? a4 does. You can't take it back. So now my knight can just hop in there and sit there forever. Just terrible a4. Like, if you played a4, I'd yell at you. I'd be like, what are you doing? The knight comes in here. He's 2600, he plays a4. Okay. Yeah, this is black has everything. Yeah, and the white's position is shallow and pedantic.
I'm surprised that they didn't think about that.
Yeah, he stops g5. Stops white's counterplay. Then he gets the two bishops. What else? And usually your bishop is here and you're crying. Now, the bishop's good. Rawr.
I get my bishop out.
I know. So in this position, the engine wants to play bishop a3 because the queen's defending. The queen has to go to a1 to save the rook. But he just took, which is also good. Bishop e4. And black played an excellent move here. They've been moving around a lot, doing nothing. Thanks, Yo Bob. Yo Bob Bob. And played the move f5. Rawr. Now whose king is under attack? Not black's. Two bishops, votals. Bishop d6 check. Queen takes f6, threatening the knight. Yeah, you can see that white's position is no good. Knight e5 is good. Takes. Knight g5 check. King g3 is a mistake because the knight comes here with check. Should have played king g2. And king g2 is a mistake. He should have played king h3. Now the queen comes in here. Time trouble. Okay. Now, in this position, black made a move. And if I was the arbiter, I would say to black, I'd stop the clock after this move. And I'd say, you are now required to say, and you will know my name is the Lord. This game was played today. This is the best move of the round in both sections. See if you can get it. This would be 3,100 if it was Puzzle Rush or whatever we do, puzzles.
Let's see if I can check.
I've never seen advanced French that white is so passive. The whole game, black's just been all over white, and white's just defending.
That's true.
Terrible. What would Soupy Sale say?
Let me see. It didn't work. Here. Tough. Can I look another moment?
You can look forever.
Okay, I'm going to keep looking.
No soup for you. Right. I think Soupy Sales died about 10 years ago. Let's see. It's Iram. Yes. Now you can set your weight if you want. Exclam weight.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Well, if you take with the rook on f2.
Can you do it trying to learn? Put the weight and then 246.6. Thank you.
See. If bishop takes and you can go queen g3, then I can go back. Oh yeah, the bishop's over there. So he can't go there. Well, he has to go there. It seems like that should work in some way.
What move's that?
Oh, I was trying to look at rook takes f2, but I couldn't quite get it to work. Because if the queen takes, I don't know, if the bishop takes.
Well, the queen can't take because the knight's here.
Right. So if you go there and the bishop takes, and I was saying you could go queen g3.
No, the bishop defends g3.
Oh, the bishop. Oh, yeah, you're right. Duh. Darn, I can't visualize very well. All right, I'm going to keep looking. There. All right, let's see if I go there. First. If I took with the knight, I guess you'd take that way. I don't know. I can't do it.
Okay, ready? Mm-hmm. You sure?
Yeah. Let's see.
Exactly.
So if he takes with the knight,
He did take with the knight.
then you have.
If you take with the king, mate. God damn. That was a quick mate.
Yeah. So
he took with the knight.
All right, and then
Yeah, then queen
Queen
g4
G- yeah,
check.
check.
Man, it's no good. Then you take on h5 with check. Man. You take the knight. And then white's completely crushed here.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's smashed. No legal moves with anything.
That's pretty good.
If only Svidler was here. Svidler was like, white has to resign soon. I don't want to look at this game anymore. Rawr. Yeah, and it is +8. So he was right. Now, the way to win this is funny. The quickest way is to just get your bishop, sneak your bishop in here. So like queen h5 check, bishop here, and just, you win. He did that eventually. Yeah. Yeah, he couldn't believe there wasn't like mate in one here. He was shocked. Like, Svidler's like, where's the mate? He couldn't find one. He's like, okay, the game's over. It doesn't matter. Yeah, bishop g4 is good. It threatens mate. And you can't play rook h1 because of bishop f3 check. Always sack the exchange. So king f1 seems forced. Queen h3. King e1 is forced. Queen f3, threatening mate. Setting up for the next game. King f1, h5. This is actually a funny way to win. Yeah. And here he resigned, but there's no move here. There's like no move that's like a legal move. Terrible. Yeah, this is a funny way to win if he decided to do that, which I think he did. But he could just be defending his bishop extra. It says +10 for black. Yeah, that was really nice. Rook f3. I mean, that was a beautiful move.
Yeah, it was a great move. What is your goal weight?
Me, 189. Because the lowest weight I've been as an adult is 190. Yeah, I went from 270 to 190, like when I was 22 or 21. Yeah, Audubon's fun to watch. Good, I'm not so sure about, but fun to watch. He's better than me, but that's about it. Okay, and then yesterday, is there anything to look at
I'm gonna text Archer.
in the...
Make sure he's doing his schoolwork.
This was pretty cool. The end of this game, we'll make this the last game. We'll start here. This is Tabatabai versus Lamy. 7,000 passed pawns. What else? We'll start here. Okay, so the queen is attacked. And if the queen moves randomly, then this is mate. If the queen moves like to d7, then this is mate. And these pawns are queening, and so forth. Okay, so black sacks the exchange, which is forced. Okay, and then queen d7. He wants to trade queens, and then gets 2 queens. And he also defends his b pawn. So he's got 3 passed pawns, 1 for each of you. Okay, so he checks. King e7. And this seems like the kind of position where like anything could happen. And here, white played the best move, which is very impressive because, well, I wouldn't have any idea what to do here. In fact, I would think I'm worse if I'm white, but the engine says white's winning. But I would assume I'm worse because my rook doesn't play, and he's got these 2 pawns that are queening. I have no passed pawns. Now, I'd like to point out, this is a situation you will probably never see again in your life. So this is like a life's moment for you guys. White has 5 pawns on the king side. Black has 1, and white has no passed pawns. They're almost impossible. Black has 3 passed pawns. 2 of them are about to queen, and this rook can't really go anywhere of note. So if I was playing a blitz game, I would assume with black I'm better. I would. Okay, he played the best move, queen h8. Excellent move. a2 is the best move. Queen f6 check. King e8. Always repeat. And then g6. So obviously I want to play g7, g8. So you have to take. There's no other move. Check. You have 1 legal move. And then e6. So the point of g6 was to play e6, because now black's king is in a little trouble. Queen g6 check, and then I'm going to have 4 connected passed pawns. Queen e7. Queen takes is actually a draw, but he played queen h8, which does win. This is the only move. Queen h7 is a blunder.
Wait, can you go back?
Yes.
Why is it a draw? Let me see.
Oh, why is this a draw? Oh, because the engine says so. I don't know. Yeah, it says either move is a draw. Probably just white's checking a lot.
That's what I wonder if there was a
Right.
perpetual.
But white's winning and I don't blame white for not playing the right move.
White would.
Right. In this position, the right move is queen d4. Or queen e5, threatening mate. And here he played queen h7, threatening mate. And now black blundered. Black's drawing if he plays queen f6. And then check, king here. And obviously, this pawn's pretty strong. Mm-hmm. Thanks, Finegold. Can he go g6 before queen h8? Yes. g6 was also winning. Queen h8 was more accurate, it said. But yes.
Hey, Thaddeus LP.
Okay. So anyway, he played queen h7, queen e7, which is losing again. Check. Takes. And now this should be a draw. He should have played queen e5 or queen d4. And this is a drawn position, it says. Queen e4. And now, in this position, the only move that draws is queen f6. But he played queen e8, which loses. Queen b4 check. King f6 is a mistake. He should take on e6. Queen d4 check. Queen e3 check. The king has to defend the queen. Queen a7 check, winning this pawn. And you had to play king f7. Yeah. Now white's up a lot of material, and I can't play c2 because my bishop's hanging, and this king is just naked. Mm-hmm. So now it's winning. He played queen takes e2, queen b3. He wants to play rook d1 and get his rook into the attack. Rook d1, queen e7 exclam. Now he's going to mate him. c2. Rook d6 check. Rook d8 check. King has to go here. Rook b8 check. Rook a8 check. King has to go to b6. King has to go to c6. And in this position, he resigned because if he plays king e5, for example, I take the queen, and then I check, and then I take your bishop. And if you play king e4, then I play rook here check, and I do like a checkmate. Like this, the king has nowhere to go. Checkmate. So after rook c8 check, after queen d7 check, he resigned. An amazing end to the game. It's terrible to lose a game like that when you both have 7 passed pawns, and it's confusing.
Yeah.
And I would have thought white was in trouble the whole game, but white was winning or equal the whole game. Those passed pawns meant nothing. And that's the challengers group for you. In the challengers group, the players aren't quite as good as the masters group. So we see a lot of back and forth and exciting play and mistakes and so forth. And typically more decisive games. Typically. Lots of decisive games in both groups. Now, this round, which was yesterday, this game I just showed you from round 7, there was only 1 draw in the challengers group, and there were 6 decisive games. So that's pretty crazy. Chess isn't really a draw when, it's not a boring draw when Grandmaster's over 2,600, all the games are decisive. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. That was a lot of the games from yesterday and today in Tata Steel. Sorry I didn't play any of you, but there were just too many games to look at. And I didn't look at any games yesterday because I was busy playing the Gawking Rabble 3-minute. There was too much gawking and too much rabble.
Yeah, I enjoyed the games. I haven't gotten to see very much of the tournament other than what we do here.
It looks like it's chess bra time. They don't have a lot of viewers, so I'm worried that it's like Rufus and Doofus.
Tier 2 chess bra.
Yeah, but I'll read them anyway because they read me.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I love their channel.
Yeah. Anyway, I hope you like those games.
Guys.
You can look at the individual games analyzed on YouTube over the next 3 days. They'll put all the videos up, plus the whole stream itself and so forth, mainly and so forth. Thanks for watching, guys.
Bye.
Tomorrow, we're having a lecture at 6 p.m. Eastern. Don't forget to sign up for the lecture. Go to Discord or Twitter to figure out how, or if you've already done it, it's the same. It'll be on Endgame Essentials. See you tomorrow.